Aren't these just the coolest things? Welcome back, Troglodytes, to your daily dose of guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. We're back at Gary's Classic Guitars for another fun-filled day of What's in the Case? But this time we've got stools, so we don't have to put it on the floor. I just thought these things were so cool. I see these occasionally get listed on Reverb or eBay, and they're always like $500 a pop or more. I just never knew if they were actually good quality or not, but now that I've seen them in person, yeah, they're nice. Let's go ahead and see what's in this case. Gary tends to specialize in like the true vintage stuff, so to see a 90s Gibson case is a little bit unusual. Did they put something else in here? This looks like it might be a classic. No, that's not a classic. That's too nice. Okay, if I had to guess from this, that is some sort of early custom shop R9. Because we don't have the prehistoric logo. Let's see the back. So we've got a 9, so that means 1959. So the 0 is going to tell us our next thing we need to know. So it could be a 1990, but that's before the custom shop, so that doesn't exist. So our next one is likely the year 2000 would be my guess. But we've been talking a lot about prehistorics lately, as well as early custom shops. It's cool how you still see a lot of the 90s within this one, but they're starting to get into the early 2000s as far as changing the specs just a little bit, getting the correct plastics. You have a nice straight red back on this. That looks aniline dyed, so that's another difference here that they finally got on. But that's a really nice top. A great way to start our episode. Here's a Lifton. I'd imagine we have some sort of a jazz arch top box here. Yeah, nice. Actually, an ES 175. According to our tag from 1950, including the mothballs smell. You just gotta love these old Lifton cases and the smells they contain. Reminds you of Grandma's house, but this has some very interesting like finish checking to it. Almost like you're looking through a stained glass window. But cool to see a P90 version of this guitar, because I always associate this model with like the Steve Howe version where it's got the two humbuckers. That's a nice sunburst finish. This one is listed on his website for $6,595, but in looking it up, I thought it was interesting. He's got the one P90, the two P90, the one humbucker, and the two humbucker version. You certainly don't find that at every single store. But I'm curious about this one. It's Gibson Custom Art Historic, so it has to be 90s to early 2000s. But it could just be a case playing fake out on us. But it seems pretty big. It had to be an acoustic. Okay. As I was telling you, was not expecting another ES 175 in here. I thought we'd have like some hummingbird or something. This makes more sense to be here. Tagged as a 1962 version. Let's take a second to appreciate that headstock. It's got some good aging. But there we go, just in case you weren't familiar with what I was talking about earlier with the dual humbuckers. And this one being 62, you might have some late PAFs in here. That is a mighty fine piece. Looking at the listing, it looks like it is a PAF in the bridge, but the patent number in the neck. That's got a really slim neck profile to it, but it beefs up a little bit towards the 12th. I guess it's good to know that these things fit in acoustic guitar cases. But now let's run through the line of fenders. Now this time it has to be a bass. That's way too long to be a really heavy Telecaster. Oh my. Yeah. Stack knob jazz bass. With hang tag? That's cool. I've never seen one of those. So the fold out on our tag actually is the Jazzmaster. I like that a lot. I wish Gibson did something like that. But this one is tagged as a 1961. But those inlays are cool. I would imagine that's what people call clay dots. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. I'm just enjoying guitars and basses today. But yeah, sure enough. I thought that was like a more modern Fender invention. But people told me, no, those stacked knobs have been around a long time, Trogly. And yeah, seeing it for the first time. But our tortoiseshell pickguard has definitely aged a little bit. They off-gas, they chip, they do all that good stuff, but they have a certain look to them. But check out how ambered over the lacquer is on this. This bass has definitely seen some gigging and stage use in some smoky bars. Now our next one. Oh, okay, that's nice. 3-tone sunburst Stratocaster. That is very clean. I would imagine this is 60-something. It's got the large headstock, so if I had to take a random guess, I would say 68? 66, not too bad. It's not my favorite color combination for a Stratocaster, but I can understand why guys would like these. Old Strats usually look best when they're a little bit beat up, but I mean, if you're a collector looking for a clean one, I think Gary could set you up on this. Look at that. 66, this clean? Even the neck hardly has anything going on. Now, when I talk about clean and vintage, you gotta remember, there's still gonna be some nicks and dings, like we got some finish wear over here. But if you didn't learn anything else this episode, just know, even though we call these 70s big fender headstocks, I think it actually is somewhere around, 65, 66 when they transition into them. It's just they're more iconic on the 70s ones, in my opinion. This one's tagged on his website for $22,000. But it looks like somewhere in the case is the ashtray that you can put over top of your bridge cover. That's cool. So that's one of the earlier big headstock fenders, so I could see how a collector might be interested in that. But this peach case is rather interesting. It kind of feels like cardboard in a weird way. I peeked at the tag. It's from 1963, and it's an authentic Duosonic. That is a really blindingly white finish. You might have to check out his listing for this. Here's what the tag looks like. So while I was uncasing this, I totally thought this was like a modern refinish, but no, apparently it is actually the original Olympic white, and it's got this special factory brown pickguard. So this is one of those cases where I'm not a fender guy, I don't know all these things, and I didn't see it instantly and go, whoa, this is weird. But if you know, you know. But this one is on his website for $10,000. And the headstock's pretty cool too. I like the way you can buy these for a little bit less than a Stratocaster, but still have the look of one on the front. Just a different body style. And it looks like the attack of a coily cable. But now it looks like we're going to be graced with the presence of another Stratocaster from 1967 this time. See, there we go. I like this one a little bit better. It's not quite as red. It's got a little bit more of a tobacco flavor to it. I really like the way that the pickguard and pickup covers have aged on this one. But we've got those F-stamp tuners and definitely some finish wear on the back. It looks like somebody played that quite nicely. I wish I could tell you how it feels, but out of respect for the guitars in his inventory system and collection, I decided to wear my gloves today. I think we've got time for 2 more in tonight's episode. We've got a third Stratocaster. This time, this one has the maple fretboard to it. Still a large headstock, so I would imagine, 67 again? Oh, that shows you how much I know. 74. Well, there you go. That gives it away. If I would have looked at the truss rod, I would have knew 70s. That's the bullet style, and then you get the introduction of their double string trees. But here's that 70s large headstock style. While editing this, I found it rather interesting to compare them. So not only does the bullet truss rod cover and the double string tree change the look of things, but that transitional logo on the 66 we looked at earlier, I just think it has that classic Fender look to it, whereas in the 70s it kind of goes into that straight black. Yeah, the Fender logo has a bit of a gold outline around it. So they basically did the inverse. I could see why they made that change, because they wanted Fender and Stratocaster to stand out. But there is something quite endearing about that 66. Especially look at how pointy the headstock is in this area versus how they rounded it over and made the cutaway a bit larger. It's fun noticing these small changes. And yeah, sure enough, this one's got the 3-bolt neck. And you can kind of see the color differences between the runs. Still a cool guitar, just different. And due to that, a little bit less expensive. This one's listed at $8,000, and hey, it looks like it's got some cool hang tags in the case too. But we'll end it tonight with this giant case. What's in here? No, nothing. I could have swore there would have been an arch top in here. That's a hefty vintage case. That's the problem when you talk about arch tops, because those guitars are only like, 4 pounds. Again! Surely this 50s brown Lifton is not also empty. It's too heavy. No, yeah, there we go. Oh, talk about saving the best for last. I have not seen a 52 in the flesh, and that finish is great. Look at all the finish checking we've got going on this thing. We finally get to experience the wrap under tailpiece. That definitely sticks high up in the air. It makes it so you can't do the palm muting, but they do sell things that you can retrofit these on with. But that's really cool to see a 52 in the flesh. Pre-serial number. Yeah, okay, I can understand. Like, when I first got into guitars, you could pick these things up for 10 grand every single day of the week, and nobody really wanted them. Nowadays, people are creeping up on their asking prices. But since they used to be cheap, people would buy them and convert them into burst specs, and I think that's why they eventually came up in value, because there's just simply less survivors. But on that note, my friends, I think this is a perfect place to stop. Thank you for tuning in, and thank you to Gary for allowing me to plunder his stockpile room here, and we'll catch you guys tomorrow on the next one. Take care. If you enjoyed this case unboxing episode, you might enjoy one of my collection videos. At the end of every year, I go through everything I bought, and I make a big, gigantic 2-hour-long episode. You can check out one here.